All right, let's make sure we get the numbers on Zach Wilson correct. This is a reaction to the story from Sunday morning from Dan Graziano in ESPN.com about potential destinations for Zach Wilson. And the thing that really got a lot of people's attention was what he wrote about the Niners and the Rams. He said the Rams and 49ers are among the intriguing options for quarterback Zach Wilson, who has permission to seek a trade from the Jets. Wilson's looking for a skilled offensive head coach and a place to revive his career. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan both need backup quarterback help at the moment. And so the question is, would the Niners acquire him? And I think anytime that the Niners have done work on a quarterback, you have to put that quarterback on the list of guys they would acquire, right? This is like Darnold 2.0. And I talked about this in the first Monday live video that I did and said the incorrect number. And so that's why I'm doing this video, to correct that. It's not $11 million for an acquiring team on Zach Wilson. It's $5.45 million. That would be the cap number if you were to acquire him this year, whether it's the Rams, the Niners, somebody else. Now, you have to give something up. So you'd be taking him off their hands. They'd save $5 million. You're going to give him a seventh-round pick? If you're the Niners, you do really well with these seventh-round picks. You don't want to trade for him because you don't want to pay him $5 million and you don't want to give up a pick for him. If he hit free agency and he really has this strong of a desire to be partnered with a high-level coach, right? Like, I'm going to go study for a year with McVay, with Shanahan, get the redshirt year that I was promised last year. But last year was weird because it kind of felt like he didn't want to play. He just wanted to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, take a breath. And I don't, once he started playing, a different story, but I don't really knock him or his people if they were like, the best thing for him is just to chill out, sit behind Rodgers for a year and just reset. Like, we got into a bad situation, probably wasn't ready for this, and now we need a little bit of help. So if he wants that, that means that he's not going to prioritize, were he to become a free agent, the biggest salary. And I don't think there'd be a lot of money anyway. He was going to prioritize, let me just go chill. I think the Rams would make a ton of sense for him. Go be with Darnold. Go be with McVay. And from that standpoint, the Niners make a lot of sense too. The Niners will have done the work on him. Both franchises have close relationships with Mike LaFleur, who, remember, was his quarterback coach in year one. So they could get immediate intel. What was this guy like in the meeting room? How bad was the situation? Did you hate him? Did you hate him? Like, hate? Did you just not like the guy? And do you think he could eventually develop into an NFL starter, legitimate backup? Can he be revived and rehabilitated? It's not really even about projecting, could he be a starting quarterback? It's just, could he be revived and rehabilitated? And could he be good enough? Because if you're doing this, if you're the Niners or the Rams, yeah, I guess having Stafford's one-day replacement or having some insurance on this really talented player that you maybe would have drafted him. If the Jets had taken Trey Lance, maybe the Niners take Zach Wilson. Or if the Niners are drafting second, do they take Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? So it's really for those two teams about, if my quarterback misses a game, can I win a game with this guy this year? That's how I'd be approaching backup quarterback for the 49ers. Not, could he be something in 2 years? This little project. Could he be something in 3 years? Could I get him and then flip him into something? Could he maybe become my starter? What you have to be thinking is, could he win a game for us if our guy goes down? We talked about this the other day with Tyrod. Tyrod probably be too expensive for the Niners, but his history as a backup quarterback is that he can win you a couple games. So it makes Zach intriguing in a sense because he's still so young. He's so talented. Do you worry about, there's a couple things here, right? Do you trade for him, you give him a pick, and you pay him the money, so he's making 5 times what Brock Purdy's making? Or nobody trades for him. Nobody wants to pay him $5.5 million. Nobody wants to give up the last pick of the draft or anything. And then the Jets cut him and he becomes a free agent. You get him for whatever you want. Are there enough guys out there that kind of liked him? The reason to trade for him and pay $5.5 million is because you think somebody else would sign him and you really want him. And, to me, it's kind of Darnold 2.0-ish. I think he's a team away from being on the 49ers. Darnold was a team away. The Niners didn't get him when he went to the Panthers, although there was some talk then. The Niners got him as team number 3. And what did he do? he got himself a raise. He's going to go make more money. Darnold's cap number this year was $6.3 million. So if the Niners were to get Zach Wilson for $5.45 million, they'd actually be saving money on their quarterback room, which, you could argue Brock for a seventh, Zach Wilson for free, but he's not free. He's $5.5 million. Is that chess, not checkers? There are some risks here. I don't think it's risk-free. And I would not be in a rush to bring it. I would not trade for Zach Wilson and pay him $5.5 million if I were the 49ers. I would consider him as an undrafted, as a cut player for a very, very, very low salary. The pitch would be, hey, man, coaches leave here and become head coaches all the time. So you come here, you buckle down, you take very little money, and you work as a backup, nose to the grindstone. Maybe Brian Greasy becomes a head coach in a year. That's the pitch. But I don't have any interest in paying Zach Wilson $5.5 million or giving up a pick for him. And I know Kyle would be intrigued. I've talked about this with, do you draft a guy in the 6th round at quarterback and suddenly he's making almost as much as Brock? It's a little bit of a weird dynamic. I think this Niners locker room handles weird dynamics just fine. Not overly concerned about it, but it is odd, even in a good locker room, to bring in a guy with not only zero equity with his team, but really zero equity around the league and pay him 5 times what Brock Purdy's making and have to deal with the possibility that he becomes a topic. Like Sam Darnold's only a topic because he's got a good arm. Sam Darnold's not a topic because he says anything or because he brings a circus with him. There's a lot of risk there with Zach Wilson, and I wouldn't be interested in it. I think the prospect with Kyle is intriguing, but I wouldn't be interested in putting his money in there. I wouldn't be interested in putting the story in the locker room. And again, we're talking about a good locker room. To me, Rams are different. Matthew Stafford's older. Matthew Stafford makes a ton of money. Not that there'd be any debate about, I don't know, is Zach Wilson threatening Brock's job? No, of course not. But it's just a little bit of a different dynamic when he's making 5x what your starter's making versus with the Rams, he can't be there's no story. It's Stafford makes way too much money. His position on that team, just based on his contract, is too well established. So, that said, like, I don't think it's anything crazy. I don't think it's the most insane thing. Like, if you support this possibility, that's fine. I don't think that's a bad take, but I just wouldn't do it. Now, with Shanahan, like, I think Kyle probably looks at guys and goes, I like them. I like them. I could do something with this. That's all I need to know. That's it. Shanahan may look at it that simply. Comment, we need trench help. 9 unblocked guys in Brock face. Wilson isn't well liked. Sam and Brandon fit in well. Yeah, they did. They fit in really well. And, they knew what they were there to do. Zach Wilson says, like, I'm just there to learn. But you just don't know. Dominic says, if it counts for anything, Zach Wilson's always Purdy's backup in my Madden franchise. Well, it does count for something. So there you go. There's the update. $5.4 million. That's what it would cost. And it's interesting that the Rams and Niners were connected to him, in that ESPN.com article this weekend. All right. That's that for Zach Wilson. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.